TCU has lost a young assistant on the offensive coaching staff, and they need to find a young, hungry coach to replace him.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. I've been covering TCU athletics for the past 12 seasons. We're going to cover a lot of ground tonight. We'll get to basketball. TCU men's hoops. Just a horrible loss to Utah tonight. 73-65 on their home floor in Shaw-Meyer Arena. I'll air my grievances about that. Women's basketball, they actually got a victory yesterday and had a really cool moment where walk-on Emma Hamlin was awarded a scholarship. But we start today with TCU football news. And this coach, Mark Cala, who is taking the offensive coordinator position at UTEP, he was the assistant quarterbacks coach at TCU and had been for the past couple of seasons. Even diehard TCU fans might say, who's that? When TCU hired Mark Cala, the headline on 247 Sports was TCU hires rising star in the coaching profession. Mark was part of 247's 30 under 30 list, where they highlight 30 of the best coaches under 30 years old. And he's followed Kendall Briles around for a long time. He was with him at Florida Atlantic. He went with him to Houston, where he worked with De'Aaron King. He went with him to Florida State, to Arkansas, and then eventually to TCU. And he's had a hand in developing some really good QBs. KJ Jefferson, Josh Hoover, De'Aaron King. He's been good at his job for a long time and has obviously been somebody who Kendall Briles trusts and values on this staff. Now, during that entire time, he's been in an off-the-field role. So some of that time was as a graduate assistant. A good bit of that time was also working with QBs as an assistant quarterbacks coach. But it feels like Mark is one of those coaches that has a really good relationship with the players and that is a good sort of mediator between the players themselves and the coaching staff. I'm sure he's got a really good idea of, okay, here's what Josh Hoover wants to do. Here are some of the plays he likes. Here's what we're trying to accomplish with the offense, so on and so forth. Totally get why he's jumping at this opportunity. He's going to be an OC at UTEP. He's going to call plays. And Scotty Walden is at UTEP. If that name sounds familiar, Scotty was born and raised in Cleburne. He started his coaching career at Sul Ross back in 2012 and then bounced around a few different places, was at Southern Miss, eventually was the interim head coach there, and then got the opportunity to go over to UTEP, where he decided to hire Mark Cala, who's been part of the staff now for a few seasons and is a valuable part of what this offense is trying to do. I wouldn't say I'm worried about what Sonny Dykes is going to do, because I feel like Sonny, one of his strengths is he has a really good sense of which coaches fit the staff they're trying to build and the culture that they have on campus, but also just who's good at their job. And Sonny's MO is he wants to hire talented people and allow them to do their jobs. He's not here to micromanage. He's not here to peer over your shoulder and see what you're doing. That's Kendall Briles' offense. And for the past 7 or 8 years, Mark Cala has been a trusted voice in that room with Kendall. And they bounce ideas off each other. And he's worked with quarterbacks. And he's helped develop these players into impact guys who elevate their teammates and make their teammates better around them. The one thing I'll say about this, you have a chance now to add to this coaching staff. And if I'm Sonny Dykes, I would just encourage him and implore him, go get a young, hungry coach. Sonny has really good connections within the world of college football. We saw him bring in two pretty highly regarded and well-known coaches as analysts last year. Dana Holgerson, Todd Graham, and Dana and Todd, but talking about Dana specifically since his background is as an offensive coach, he was actually tasked to work with the defense and work with Andy Avalos and help him scout opposing offenses, help him figure out, hey, here's what your tendencies are, give him that perspective of an offensive coordinator and saying, if I was watching film on you guys, this is what I would attack. But while that's tempting, and Nick Saban made this famous by basically opening up his own wing of like coach rehab through his time at Alabama, the Nick Saban school for coaches who want to learn how to coach good again and do other things good as well. And he just had a revolving door of former head coaches. It was like, hey, come hang out here. You can be an analyst. You can be an assistant. You can be a fly on the wall, see what we're doing, take that to your next job. Also, this is a great resume builder. But for TCU, don't go hire just a big-name former head coach as an analyst because those gigs are always short-lived. And Sonny lived through it. I mean, he was at TCU for one season as an off-the-field support type of guy. Came over from Cal after that didn't work out. And it gave him the chance to reset, recalibrate, make some changes to his philosophy, to his offense, figure out what he wanted to do when he got another opportunity, if and when that came around. And when SMU came calling, he had a better sense of what the job entailed, what he wanted to focus on, and what he wanted his team and his culture to be about. And the benefit of having a coach like that on your staff, a veteran coach who's been around and has probably been a head coach at some point, is you get that unique perspective, but you also kind of know it's with the understanding this is a short-term rental. Go get a young, hungry coach who wants to learn, who wants to put roots down somewhere, and have him be the person that's working with the quarterbacks on a week in and week out basis, that's working on the game script with Kendall Briles on a weekly basis, that's helping the rest of the coaching staff understand, hey, this is where and when this guy is most comfortable. This is what Josh Hoover likes to do. These are some of the plays that he really likes, some of the things that he's most comfortable with within this offensive system. Let's highlight that. Let's pick up on those tendencies and execute them well. TCU needs somebody like that in the building. And I would steer clear of the sort of retread, hey, let's give our friend a chance to get back in the game, have employment, and continue to stay connected to what we're doing. Because honestly, the gig that Dana got, I mean, that was a favor. I'm not saying it was wrong or he shouldn't have taken the job or somebody shouldn't have offered it to him. But that whole thing was just like, hey, come in here. I mean, Dana said in the press conference that he had during spring camp, he was like, look, I can do most of my work before the season. Or I can do it from the house. I have that freedom. I have that autonomy. They're going to let me figure out what works best for me. I just need my laptop to scout these teams and watch film and pick up on all these tendencies. And in the middle of the year, he left for Nebraska. And I understand why. He got a chance to be a play caller, which is same type of thing here for Mark Cala. But you couldn't even get through a whole year with him because it was always with the intention of, I'm doing this to springboard me, hopefully, into the next step. So stay away from situations like that. Really hone in on who is a young, hungry coach who can help us be more efficient on offense, who can bring a new and fresh perspective to our offensive system, who can help Kendall fine-tune and experiment with some things that could make this better, that could make this more fruitful in the future. That's what TCU needs to chase after. That's the type of coach that they should be looking at to replace Mark Cala, who moves on to UTEP to be an offensive coordinator. Best of luck to him. This is a bigger loss than it looks like on paper, though, because this is a guy that's been around Kendall Browse for a long time, has been helpful, and knows how to develop QBs. When we come back, TCU basketball. Woof. FanDuel, FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. We are in the middle of the NFL playoffs. Listen to this deal. Listen to this opportunity. You make one $5 bet on the FanDuel app. If you win, you get $300 in bonus bets. You heard that right. You win one $5 bet at FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. New customers, you get $300 in bonus bets. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate. They have a variety of bets to keep every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no waiting around for your winnings. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Okay, friends, I am not delusional. I have a pretty good handle, I feel like, on – I'm not saying I'm always right, but I do think I have a pretty good handle on kind of the middle ground between being a total homer and just being way too critical. TCU basketball, I knew this was going to be a rebuilding year, however you want to frame that. They lost a lot of production. They had multiple transfers coming in that were expected to play big minutes. They had some young players they were excited about, but they didn't really know what to expect from those guys. There was always the potential that there would be a ton of moving parts. Frankie Collins goes now with an injury that makes things more complicated. I am sympathetic to what Jamie Dixon is having to deal with this year. But they played such uninspiring basketball tonight. And they lost to Utah 73-65 in a game where they never led. Utah took a 1-0 lead early, and they never looked back. I mean, it was close at times. TCU would cut it to – in the last 5 minutes of that ball game, there were multiple times where TCU would cut the lead to 6. And on 3 or 4 ensuing possessions, Utah had dunk, uncontested layup at the rim that they actually missed, but they got the tip in. Another layup near the rim. The defense was atrocious in the second half of this game. And offensively, shooting free throws tonight, 10 of 21 from the line. 7 of 20 from 3, 37% from the field, 10 of 21 from the line. And it looked a lot better because towards the end of that game, they hit some shots. Micah Robinson in particular came in and hit some free throws. They were 3 of 12 at one point from the free throw line. And my biggest frustration with this program, it's the same things every year. The free throws have been an issue for years. And I don't believe that the guys are not putting the work in the gym. I just don't buy that. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're working on these things. I'm sure they're trying to be more consistent from the line. The problem is, and this is more of a philosophical thing, and I understand part of it's the resources that you're dealing with and what kind of talent can you get, but it feels like Jamie has a very specific type of basketball player that he wants to go after. Uber athletic, long, good wingspan, can get downhill and score, shooting optional. He just hasn't had a ton of great sharpshooters. I mean, Desmond Bane, obviously, who's gone on to have a really good NBA career. But the last few years especially, they have not been able to space the floor because they just cannot shoot from the outside. They also can't make free throws. the defense multiple times tonight when I was like, okay, if you can just get a stop, if you can just get a stop right here and give us a chance to get right back in this ball game, then we have a chance. But no, layup after layup, dunk after dunk. Just so many easy, uncontested buckets. Noah Reynolds, not a great night. LaShawn Allett led the scoring efforts with 19 points, but he was 9 of 24 from the field. Noah 5 of 9 from the field, 12 points, but he wasn't as aggressive as I would have liked him to be. And there's flaws here, man. I mean, Ernest Uday, I love him. He's a great rim protector. But I know Ernest is getting compensated well. And it is really tough on a team when you have a big man who has no post game, and the only offense he's going to give you is going to be in rim run situations, on lobs, and getting some feeds inside and finishing around the rim. Free throws, liability at the line. And TCU had multiple chances tonight. I don't know if it was just the vision. I'm not sure if Utah's size and wingspan bothered them, but plays where they would run pick and roll action and Ernest would be like wide open under the hoop. It wouldn't be for a long amount of time, but long enough that you could fire one in there, give him the ball in the paint, and let him finish. And they just couldn't do it. But Sean Allett, they cut the lead to 6 with about a minute left, and they had a chance to go down and score and try to keep extending the game and keep things interesting. Rashawn had multiple guys open, including Micah Robinson in the corner wide open for a three, that if they made that would change the game because it would have made it a one-possession game with 55 seconds left. Well, then all of a sudden you can play defense, but he doesn't pass the ball. He tries to get to the rim, shot gets blocked. This is just a horrible loss, man. I mean, there's no excuse for it. Like, I didn't think this team was going to make the tournament, but if you want to be in any sort of postseason contention, these are the types of games you have to win. Because it doesn't feel like you're stealing a whole lot of games this year. Unless things drastically improve over the next few weeks. But it's tough to watch. I'm super appreciative of Jamie. He's brought the program to a place that I didn't know if it was possible. I've been through the ringer. I was there on campus when they were 0-18 in conference play. I saw the rebuild happen in real time, starting with Trent Johnson. I know it's difficult to win at TCU on a consistent basis. And what Jamie has done is incredible in a lot of ways. But this is a rough year right now. And two of your best players, your young guys, Isaiah Manning, Jace Posey, they're not giving you good minutes. Your transfers, it hasn't been super consistent. And tonight was such a big opportunity. You had a chance to win tonight, go to 3-2 in conference play, and you go play Baylor on Sunday in Waco, and that's going to be a tough one, but you sort of have a slight cushion with being over 500 and have a chance to keep stacking up wins. And if you could steal one down there, that would be fantastic, but it takes a little pressure off. Well, now you really got to bring your A game. And at the moment, I mean, when Noah Reynolds is not assertive, this offense really struggles. But Sean Allett tried to pick up the slack tonight, but I don't feel like I'm sure he thinks this, but I don't think the coaching staff brought him in with the intention of him shooting 25 times a game. I don't think that was what they had in mind for him. But here we are, because they are in a tough spot with an inability to score consistently. And the defensive breakdowns tonight were just killers. I mean, multiple possessions where they cut the lead to 6 so they can get a stop and go get a score. Suddenly it's a brand new ball game, and they just could not do it. So they'll get ready for Baylor on Sunday, who the Bears are ranked 25th in the country. They're coming off a rough loss to Arizona, but Scott Drew's a good coach. They'll figure it out. When we come back, a cool moment after the TCU women took down UCF last night. We'll talk about that here on Locked on Horned Frogs, your team every day. Thank you to Prizepicks. Prizepicks, where you can get real money on sports action. Over 10 million users have billions in winnings total, not just one person. Prizepicks has changed the game with daily fantasy sports, whether it's playoffs or regular season. Prizepicks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action. It's playoff time. There's no better way to get on the action with Prizepicks. You simply pick more or less on at least two players and their stat totals. And if your picks hit, you can win up to $1,000 in cash. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prizepicks. Prizepicks, run your game. TCU women's basketball, they are 6-0 in conference play after taking down UCF on Tuesday night. Once again, sort of got caught just playing with their food, didn't extend that lead out far enough to relax too much, but got the victory, and they stay undefeated in conference play. They have a huge matchup against Utah on Friday night. That will be the first of a couple in the next 3 weeks that are true tests. Baylor later on in the schedule, Oklahoma State, K-State looming. A lot of big-time, meaningful basketball going to be played by Mark Campbell's squad in Charlemont Arena soon. But I wanted to highlight, it was an awesome win, and they have a big game Friday. I wanted to highlight something a little bit different, though, today. So after that game ended, we're about a year removed from a time when TCU women's basketball had to forfeit a couple games because they didn't have enough players to play. They were so injured and banged up at the time. And so Mark Campbell held open tryouts, and he was like, hey, we need 4 walk-ons to come in here to supplement our roster, fill it up, and at least give us a chance to compete. And Emma Hamlin was one of those. She helped save the season. Not to be dramatic, but it's true. Her being on the team allowed them to have the numbers to play, and she came back this year. And Mark got emotional talking about what she meant to the program, and they call them the Underfrogs, those walk-ons that came in and helped TCU kind of stabilize things. But Emma was a normal student going through, her first couple semesters at TCU, and then all of a sudden she's thrown into this situation that's very unique. And he just talked about how much that meant to him, that she stayed through the adversity, that they kind of found their footing, and then he surprised her by saying he was putting her on scholarship. So first of all, congratulations to her and her family. What a cool moment to go from not planning to play basketball at all to being a scholarship athlete on this team. It also continues to show Mark Campbell's the real deal, man. These players love him. Haley Van Lith earlier this year getting emotional after a ball game because she saw she had a tough year at LSU. Didn't really fit into their offensive system. Wasn't really able to do what they wanted her to do. But she has come here. She's been a good scorer. She's been a willing passer. Madison Connors had great moments. They play for Mark Campbell. They do. And they care about what he has to say. There's an awesome video. It's on Instagram. It's on Twitter. If you want to check out the TCU women's basketball page. But they surprised her and gave her that scholarship. She earned that scholarship as a thank you for, stepping up to the plate last season when they were in very dire need of somebody to come in and help them in their numbers. Before we go, Frog fan asked me when are we going to talk about baseball. Well, TCU baseball is ranked number 23 in the D1 preseason poll. They're also ranked in the Perfect Game USA poll, I believe at 18. First game is Valentine's Day weekend, series against San Diego. I will dig into baseball more once the calendar turns to February. And I'll keep track of it all year long. I'm a little surprised that they got the benefit of the doubt with some rankings, given how disappointing the season was last year and the fact that they're turning over a lot of personnel again. But, yeah, I'm excited for Frog Ball. I think it's going to be fun. A lot of questions. Ben Abelt, can he move to the rotation? Bill Mosiello is hitting coach, reuniting with TCU. Is that going to work? We'll have coverage of it all later on this week on Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel or on your favorite podcast platform.